We can't drown ourselves in suffering. That is not going to shift our world, essentially. So you can take whatever brave action you can take in your community, in wider communities, in communities across the world. And it's really, really important that you come back to noticing your own community, like your literal self and your children and your family and your community just around you. So please give yourself permission to continue to cultivate joy, to resource yourself, to focus on that precious life you have. Okay, so I really want you to think about what often happens is that, particularly if we're a recovering perfectionist and we think things need to look a certain way and we want to control things, we design times, or we imagine how times are going to be, and we often tend to overbook, we overcomplicate, and we believe, even if it's unconsciously, that we need to be some sort of magic fairy all of the time, creating these experiences that others deem valid. So that maybe society deems valid, or maybe that in your family it's deemed valid, or, like, for example, you might find yourself booking a skiing trip, but actually your whole family hates skiing, but in your family of origin perhaps, or in your social group, skiing is deemed as being like an important thing. I don't know. Or whatever. I mean, it could be anything. It could be like going to all the theme parks or something is deemed important in your kind of group of people. Or going to lots of art galleries, or I don't know, dirt biking, whatever your interests are. But I want you to kind of really ponder, if you weren't trying to impress anyone, what would you do? If you weren't imagining that there's going to be some sort of committee marking how you parent or how you spend your time, what would you do? How would you actually have joy with yourself and your children? And another question to ponder, so I'll put an I, if I wasn't trying to craft a fantasy based on what other people think is a good idea, what would I actually do? So let me give you an example. If you have these ideas of, we're going to do a lot of trips, say we're going to go into central London and we're going to go and look at like the Science Museum and the Natural History Museum. Honestly, I would never venture to do that by myself, even though my kids are nearly 10, because I would find that really overstimulating, trying to I would find that overstimulating because I'd be wondering about where all the bathrooms are on the way. Are there going to be lots of crowds? Will we manage on the train and the tube? Yes, we will manage on the train and the tube, but for that type of outing, I prefer to go with my husband. And so I wouldn't plan to do something like that by myself in half term. I would not want to be with a lot of crowds. I would prefer to go somewhere where there's a lot of nature and where I can pack a picnic and have things that resource me as well when my daughters enjoy themselves. So I would actively avoid doing things that are deemed, I don't know, worthwhile, or where there's going to be lots of other people. And so I want you to really notice, does it feel important? Like, do you think, like in my family, it was important to go to museums and also specifically art galleries. So I always think it demonstrates, it's virtuous to do that sort of thing, and that it somehow also, again, demonstrates cleverness, or some sort of intellectual signaling. And I invite you to step away from anything like that. You do not need to do any intellectual signaling. You do not need to prove that you're a good parent, in inverted commas, by taking your kids to art galleries and probably dragging them around. And you're allowed to focus on things that have ease and have joy and that you enjoy, because your joy matters. And especially if you've grown up in a family where there's been emotional neglect, you will have learned to omit yourself. So taking yourself into account may be extremely, extremely unfamiliar to you. So I really, in this case, want you to center your experience.